This is a website of a ministry called the Revolution. It's run by two brothers, Alex and Brett Harris. Now, the thing that caught my attention was one of the blogs on here. This blog actually goes back a couple of years. It's actually entitled Not Too Young to Die. It actually discusses the reality of death, and unfortunately in this fallen world, not even young people are exempt from death. And as a Christian ministry, they try to give young people, like teenagers, the correct mindset they should actually have about death. Now, so often young people have the mindset that I'm young, I'm invincible, I'm fit and healthy, and you may well be. But remember this, you are only invincible until the day God calls you home. And generally most people have no idea when that is. It's very rare that God reveals that kind of information to people. I've heard of it once or twice in my life. But usually it comes to people as a surprise. There was an accident in Brisbane about a week ago. A woman and her two sons, one was 17, one was 8, killed in a head-on collision with a truck. Now, there was a male driving the car. I think could have been her husband, not sure. The article didn't say that. He actually survived. But this is the thing. The woman and her two sons had no idea that that was their last day on earth. And as Christians, we got to live the same way. This could be our last day on earth. We don't know. But the fact is, we do have Jesus Christ, and if it is our last day, we shouldn't be the least bit concerned. We're just living for Him. Everything's going to be fine. But I want to go back to the website, and I want to give you some examples of some people who were taken young, some people who did know Jesus Christ. First one, Michael Billings, a friend of Alex and Brett. This guy, Michael, actually preached a sermon when he was 17 to a group of youth. Book of James, where it talks about our life being just a vapour, and the average life expectancy is about 70 to 80 years in the Western world, and but even that, from God's point of view, is a vapour, and even more so, a lot of people don't even get close to that age. You know, a lot of people are gone even before they reach their 18th birthday. And sadly, Michael Billings, 2 years later, died in a car accident at the age of 19. And you see, this is the thing. If God has ordained you to die in a car crash at 19, there's no way around it. It's fixed in time. Just as when you gave your heart to Jesus Christ, that point was fixed in time. Just as the day you were born, that point was fixed in time. This is fixed in time before eternity began. But also remember this. Your place in heaven has been prepared for you, even before you were born, even before the foundation of the earth. God has a place prepared for His children. Anyway, moving on to another. Jim Elliot was a missionary to Ecuador, and he died at the age of 28 years old. That's only a couple of years younger than what I am. He basically gave his life for the gospel. Now, a common question, like even Christians may ask, this person may have been able to do so much good for God, and that is absolutely true. But remember, we're only able to do these things for God if God is working through us, and even more importantly, God sees us as His children first, before objects He can use. That is something we so often forget. We're sons and daughters of God. And that is a fact that should be so precious to you that no matter what happens to you, you're his son or daughter. Now, I want to move on to this one is really, really sad, okay? This one made, I'll just put it up. It's pretty, this is probably one of the saddest of the ones I'm talking about. Now, I actually did a video on this a couple of months ago. This is a article that actually made the news here in Australia back when it actually happened. It was late November, early December. This is a tragic accident that actually came out of New Zealand. A young 13-year-old devout Christian drowned in a car accident. We don't normally get any news from New Zealand, and certainly not of a car accident. I mean, the circumstances and the freakness and the unusualness of the accident, it made worldwide news. But I mean, this young kid, devout Christian, totally sold out to God. I mean, this is my point, or what I'm trying to make. You can love God with all your heart and follow him. Jesus never guaranteed that everything on this earth would go well for us, and often it doesn't. Sometimes he, as I said before in a previous video, while God sends rain on the just and the unjust, I mean, terrible things happen to the righteous as well as the unrighteous, and you don't get much worse than this. And the young guy knew Jesus Christ. He's been in heaven about 5 months now. And I got one more to show you. Okay, this is the final person I wanted to speak about. This is Rachel Joy Scott. Rachel Joy Scott was one of the victims of the Columbine school shooting back 10.5 years ago. She actually kept a journal, and I'm just going to paraphrase most of this part. She basically wrote a letter like saying, "Dear God," talking about one of her friends who was not really a good influence on her. Like she's saying to God, "Yeah, oh well, I was going to go out and sin, but then I thought, well, no. It's wrong. Even though you're always ready to forgive, it's wrong. And even though you are there to forgive us, it doesn't mean that you're not going to discipline us for it." So she said at first she did it out of like fear, out of God's discipline, but then she turned and said that I will obey you out of love. And I think that's such a wonderful thing. We should obey him because we love him, not because we're like terrified of him. He wants us to love in him. He wants us to trust in him. You see, the point of this is we live so often under the delusion that we ignore death as a reality, and I think the younger you are, the less likely you think it's going to happen to you. You think, oh, it's something only old people have to worry about. It's not. As I've proven to you several times now, it happens. Death does affect young people as well as old. And the most important thing of all is knowing Jesus Christ. Then if you have Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter when your time is. I mean, it should be the least of your concern when the date of your death is. It's if you know Jesus Christ, then the date doesn't matter. Because the moment you die, you're face to face with him forever.